Welcome to BPTV. I'm your host Andy Amrine, and this is another Around Town. Here we are, April 1st, close enough, and we're going to be taking care of a yard that was devastated between the drought and the harsh winter. So take a look at all the products we're going to be talking about. We're going to show you how to, but as always, we appreciate you watching BPTV. All right, because of this type, the yard, and how bad the winter was, and how it needs seeding, and it needs the grass greener, and just overall to spruce it up, I'm concentrating on 4 things today for the product itself. Besides testing the pH on it, everything in the world grows by the pH. The pH of the soil is everything. I'm a huge fan of a healthy soil, healthy yard. Instead of going through all the different fertilizers and feeding the grass, we are going to make the soil healthy. And when the soil is healthy, the grass is going to be healthy itself. So we're going to work on the pH of the soil. We're going to work on the clay-based soil, starting with this product here, Mag-I-Cal. I like to call Mag-I-Cal lime on steroids. And what Mag-I-Cal does, this would be equivalent to 5 bags of lime. A bag of lime only covers 1,000 square feet and takes 8 months to raise the pH. A bag of Mag-I-Cal, this is a big bag, but a regular 5,000 square foot bag is going to do what 5 bags of lime does, and it's going to raise the pH in a matter of weeks instead of months. So this is going to help with the soil to make the pH higher, and grass loves pH. Dandelions, chickweed, clover, all your broadleaf weeds like a low pH. So the trick is to get the pH up to 6.5 to 7. You'll never need a weed and feed again. So this is the most important product you could ever put into a yard, is keeping the pH up. So Mag-I-Cal raises the pH, keeps the weeds away, keeps the soil healthy, keeps the grass happy. The second product is a product called Love Your Soil. I call this an aerator in a bag. What this does is this is a gypsum-based product that breaks down the clay, loosens the clay. You get the clay to break down and turn into good topsoil. What's going to happen is it's going to loosen the soil. It's going to allow moisture to get down into the ground, into the roots of the grass, but it's also going to allow oxygen down. All plants need the oxygen. So loosening the soil, getting rid of the clay, getting the gypsum down in is going to decompose that clay. And you got to understand, we're in Southwest Pennsylvania. We live on clay soil. It's just the nature of the beast of where we live. So once again, this is going to naturally help loosen the soil, turn it into good topsoil. So you got good topsoil, you got proper pH, things are going to thrive. Whether it's your grass or whether it's a garden, things are going to thrive on it. So these are 2 critical things to do this time of year. And this is April 1st. This is early spring. This is what you want to be doing. And then we got a seed, and we are going to use an organic fertilizer. Now, when you are overseeding a yard, you've got to look at the type of seed you're doing. You could buy just really cheap annual rye, which is only good for 1 year, perennial rye, which will come back year after year, but there's different type of fescues, there's different types of bluegrass. Fescue is one of your most durable type of seeds. Why I like the Jonathan Green Black Beauty Ultra seed is because of their root structure. A normal grass seed, the roots of the grass seed is 3 to 4 inches below the surface. That's normal. Jonathan Green, this is an enhanced seed. After 2 years, the roots of this grass seed is 4 feet deep. That's right, feet, not inches. So that's going to put it below the frost line. That's going to make it a drought resistant, because even last year with the heavy drought and lack of water, you go down 4 feet, you're going to have a lot more moisture than you do only 4 inches under the soil itself. So we're going to top dress, we're going to rake out the bad areas, we're going to top dress the areas with the Black Beauty Ultra seed, and then we're going to put a starter type fertilizer on it. Once again, this is an organic, so everything we are doing is going to be pet friendly. Whether you got dogs, whether you got cats, whether you're worried about the deer and the bunny rabbit and the birds and anything else, everything we are doing is organic. So your pets can play in it right after you apply it. You might not want to do that, and it's all going to work better once it's watered in. So instead of letting it sit on the soil, we're picking a day where it's supposed to rain late afternoon, early evening. So God's going to take care of the issue of watering with us. So that's why we're going to treat this yard this morning and then let it rain. It's going to wash it in. And you come back to this yard, I'm going to say 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to be really, really happy with what we see on it. You know, it's still chilly. It's still 40 some degrees today. The soil temperature is finally reaching about a 55-degree point. That's why we're able to do this. Your grass seed isn't going to germinate till the ground temperature is 55 degrees or higher. It doesn't matter what the air temperature. It could get chilly today and it's going to get a little chilly next week, but the ground temperature, because we had those couple of weeks of 70, 80 degree weather already, so the ground temperature warmed up enough. The last thing I'm going to do is, after I put the seed and all the fertilizers down, the real heavy areas that have no grass left, I'm going to top dress it with a mushroom compost. And that's just going to protect the seed from washing away, but it's also going to add a little bit more nutritional value to it organically, but it's also going to create some heat. And because it's still chilly during the evening and nighttime and so forth, the mushroom compost is going to help protect the seed to help it germinate. So test your pH, treat for pH, treat the soil, put down your new seed, start a fertilizer compost. You know, you're going to have, come May, you're going to have a really nice looking yard, and it's going to take care of the winter blues because of how bad the winter was in January, 25 days of snow, but also combating how bad last year was with the drought. And this is how we're going to fix a yard. So let's get to work. So step one, we're going to test for pH. Very simple, it's just a meter. It goes from 3 to 8. Ideally, I would love to see pH in a yard at 7. 7 is going to be absolute perfect soil for it. So down at our hardware store, we lend these out. These meters like $100 a pop. So you don't have to buy one, just come down and borrow it. And when you're borrowing it, test 6, 7 different spots in your yard. Your backyard is going to be different from your front yard. The soil on a hillside is going to be a little different than the level area. Underneath trees, depending on what type of tree, you get into your evergreens, your pH is going to be even lower. Or if you have a mossy area, you go throw a meter in, you're going to be around a 2. But let's see what this yard is like on a pH scale. You just stick it in the ground and you gently let it sit for 2-3 minutes, and the scale's gonna move rather quickly on it. We're not checking moisture, we're not checking temperature. All we're doing is pH, because in my world of grass growing, the pH is everything. So let's see what we got. We're down at a 5. So 5 is not bad, but it's still not good. So it's better than most yards that I find in the South Hills. Most yards that I come out to, I'm down there around the 3, and that's when you start getting a lot less grass, a lot more moss. So 5, that's not bad, but like I said, I like to get it up to 7. So we're going to take these areas and we're going to rake these areas out, and then we're going to start applying the products. But this tells me, because that pH is 5, it tells me that I'm on the right track. And the most important thing I could do is get that pH up, and this yard is going to have a fun, good, healthy year, getting it up to 7. And we're going to be able to do that with using the Mag-I-Kel. So let me rake out some areas and we'll start applying some product. And I'm just scratching the surface area. I don't want to destroy any of the good grass, but I'm trying to remove any of the bad grass, dead grass, and so forth. And what this will allow the grass seed, the Mag-I-Kel, the Love Your Soil, and it's just going to allow it to get deeper down into the soil, so it has a better chance of growing and thriving and not washing away They're not having a lot of birds eat it. And when you never want to have grass seed just sitting on the surface itself. When you get grass seed on the surface, it's not going to be insulated, it's not going to be protected from the temperature changes, and then it's not going to be protected from any heavy winds, and also you can get a lot more birds eating it. So another thing you could do if you wanted to, I'm a fan of aerating. I don't usually thatch too much. In this yard here, in these dead areas, yeah, there's some dead thatch. But for the most part in this yard, there's not a lot of thatch. But if you wanted to aerate, getting the machine to plug the holes, that's going to be fine too, because to plug the hole, then you apply the product in the seed, and you leave all the droppings, I call them goose droppings from the aerator, because they'll decompose and fill those holes back in again. So another thing, if you wanted to do, depending on time, energy, health, and everything else, you could just aerate this yard and then apply the products right after an aerating. But that's your call on this one. The ground is soft enough and nice enough. I'm just scratching the surface, which will allow the seed and fertilizer to get deeper down into the soil itself. Simple task. So first product we're going to use is the Mag-I-Cal. Like I said, this is what's going to raise the pH. So anytime you're using a spreader, you have to set the dowel to make sure the openings are opening the right distance. So you have to read the bag of your product. And this product, with the type of spreader, the brand of spreader, and the application, I want it at 4.5. So the dowel here will change to get it to the setting. So now I'm at 4.5. So when I load the spreader and I pull the handle, it's going to open the doors to the right diameter to put the right amount of fertilizer down in the soil. You never, depending on the product, you really don't want too much or too little. You want to do it right, otherwise you're wasting money. Organically, safety-wise, you really can't over-apply because it's all organic. When you get into other products, like your weed and feeds, whether it's Scott's or Green Thumb or the other brands, it is critical that you use the right percentage per square foot, or else you're going to burn up the yard. But with what we're doing today, I'm going to put a nice heavy application down and the yard will look nice. And any of these products, you would actually be able to use these in gardens too, whether it's flowers or vegetables, because like I said, we're doing organically, and the only thing to watch when you're doing vegetable gardens, some vegetables take different pH. So where I'm telling you the grass, we want it at 7, it depends on what you're growing. Strawberries like a lower pH, tomatoes like a medium type pH. You need to know what you're growing, what the pH is, so you don't make it too high or too low for what you're growing. You can get too high of a pH when you get into some of the vegetables. Some of the pepper plants and tomato plants can get too high of a pH. So test your soil and know what the pH level is you want. Okay, we just finished applying the Mag-I-Cal for the pH. Now it's time to put down the gypsum-based product called Love Your Soil. This will turn clay into topsoil. And because these are organic, we can apply all of these products in the same day. We're not using your chemicals, we're not using the weed and feeds, we're not using the products that are really critical to rain or sun or no rain. These are all organic, so we can apply them all the same day and put them on one right after another itself. So let's get some of the Love Your Soil down. All right, we treated the soil. Now it's time to put down the grass seed. Once again, this is the Black Beauty Ultra seed. So the spreader setting is a lot higher number because you need a lot less going down onto the soil itself. So we're going to be spreading the grass seed down, and that'll be our step 3 for the day. So time to seed. Next step out of the 4 steps is we're going to put down what I'll term a starter fertilizer. And what this does is it helps the seed to germinate better, stronger, faster, grow better. But once again, this is all organic. Anytime you're using a starter fertilizer, you need to make sure that first number is around the 10. The higher you get, the more nitrogen it has in it, and then that's more of a chemical base. And if you get too high of a nitrogen base to it, you're gonna burn the seed. Grass seed is very, very, very fragile, so we gotta make sure that we're using something either organic or very low in your step number 1. So let's apply the food. Okay, the last part of what we have to do is we got to top dress the brown areas. You know, we put down the Magical, put down your Love Your Soil, put down the seed, put down the starter fertilizer. Now the last thing, I just want to protect, then it's just a light hand throwing of dirt. I'm not getting thick, heavy coverage. Now it would look bad in the yard. We're just top dressing the areas to, one, because it's an organic mushroom compost, we're adding nutrition, but also, you know, we're going to keep a little bit of heat into the soil because it still gets chilly, and also it's going to keep more of a moisture into the soil itself. Compost mushroom is great. The other great product I like would be peat moss, but don't confuse that with peat moss. I hate peat moss. Peat moss is the worst product known to man. No gardener should ever use it for anything. Peat moss repels water. So the people that buy a bale of peat moss, put it down in the yard, you're preventing water from getting to the seed or the plants. So peat moss is made in Ambridge or compost mushroom, whichever one you prefer. This is going to have a little bit more of a smell to it, where peat moss is made in Ambridge, and it's a compost of newspaper and cardboard. So it's a tremendous absorbing of water and holds water in. So those are the only 2 things that I prefer to use when I'm top dressing a yard after seeding on it. Today, we're going to be using the mushroom compost. Okay, this project, took me hour and a half, maybe 90 minutes. You come in, analyze, and check the pH, and do the 4 steps. But these are important 4 steps in spring in your soil. These aren't your 4 steps that you've heard of to do feeding the grass, feeding the grass, feeding the grass. We're not feeding the grass, we're feeding the soil itself. So remember, the important steps, number 1, more important than anything, is the pH of your soil. To treat the pH of your soil, you gotta use Mag-I-Kel. Don't use lime, use Mag-I-Kel, get that pH up. Your grass, your yard is gonna love you. Number 2, because of the ice age in Southwest Pennsylvania, and everybody around here has clay, you have to get water and oxygen down below. So if you're not gonna aerate, because that's another whole skill set level, then you use your Love Your Soil. Love Your Soil will decompose that clay, turning it into fabulous topsoil. After we did the Mag-I-Kel, Love Your Soil, then we put down the best grass seed known to man. That's the Jonathan Green Black Beauty Ultra. Once again, after 2 years, 4 feet deep, not 4 inches deep. That way, if we have another summer of no water, you don't have to water your yard because the roots are so deep, they're finding its own water. So we overseeded this entire yard. We put extra layers in the brown spot areas, and then we took some mushroom compost and we put the mushroom compost in the real bad areas, the areas that there's no grass growing any longer. So I'm anxious to come back in about 2 weeks to see if Mother Nature holds true and we warm up a little bit more and we get enough rain and so forth. Everything in the world of growing plants revolves around Mother Nature. She's in charge. We're not. We're just trying to help the process itself. But I'm going to say in 2 weeks, with a little bit warmer weather that's coming mid-April, we're going to have a gorgeous yard, all before, like this was, before the drought, before the harsh winter, before everything else. So simple, a little bit of time, a little bit of effort, but even you can have a gorgeous yard. So see you next time. I get asked all the time, how do you know when it's time to plant? How do you know, short of taking a thermometer and sticking it in the yard? And you could always do that. So run to your kitchen, get your meat thermometer and stick it in the ground. It's gonna tell you the temperature of the soil, but with the meat thermometer, it's only gonna tell you about 4 inches deep what the temperature is. So God has its ways of telling you when the ground is warming up. And one of them is forsythia bushes, those bright yellow bushes that you see in spring. They start blooming when the ground temperature is above 55, getting close to 60 degrees. So when you see your magnolia trees and your forsythia start to bloom, that's your sign that the ground temperature is warm enough for you to start working. And as long as it's not too wet and muddy, you can start raking out the dead areas, overseeding, putting down your Mag-I-Kel, and if you're into a crabgrass preventer, which we're not going to be using on this job, that's when you really want to start getting your crabgrass preventing products down. But remember, if you're using a crabgrass preventer, you cannot use a grass seed because it's going to prevent your grass seed from germinating. So watch what Mother Nature does. Like your forsythia bushes, they start blooming, it's time to get to work in your yard.